You can't retire. You will never be able to retire. High healthcare cost, inflation, the cost to just live, housing, transportation, you will never retire. That was actually the subject of a Wall Street Journal article, and I want to go through that article with you here in just a second. But on our channel, we're not about not retiring. We are about retiring, getting to retirement, through retirement, and protecting your ability to stay in retirement. We want to make wise choices to get us to retirement. That's what we're going to look at. I want to go through the Wall Street Journal retirement article, basically saying you can't retire. Then I want to go through a specific example for Sharon. I want to show you her retirement example on why she can't retire and the changes that we made so that she can C-A-N retire. You ready to go? Let's do this. All right, so here's the article from the Wall Street Journal. Congrats on your retirement. Time to find a new job by Claire Ansberry. It was a great article. I thought this was very well written. And you can look at this, go on Google and find this. But here's what's hurting retirees. Rising cost and boredom. I thought that was really interesting. Boredom is causing retirees to weigh the option of going back to work. Let me show you a few tidbits in this article, and then we're going to get right into the example. Think about this. The rising cost of living combined with restlessness is spurring older Americans to consider coming out of retirement. More than 4 million Americans will reach 65 years old this year. Now, the average age for retirement in America right now is 64. 65 is a great age to retire because you run into Medicare. Medicare is going to bring your healthcare cost down. And so if you retire before Medicare, before age 65, you have to find a source of healthcare. Normally that's on the exchange or Obamacare. And if you're married or if you're single, that cost could be $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $1,000 a month. If you go on Medicare, you turn 65. If you get a Medicare supplement, you may pay $200 to $250 a month and maybe $50 to $60 a month for a Part D plan, so $300 a month all in. Or you might go on a Medicare Advantage plan where you pay no monthly premiums, but you pay co-pays and deductibles. So you see why a lot of Americans are waiting until 64 and 65 to retire. But some of those same Americans, they going back to work. So look at this. Yet many of them will continue to work. Why is that? Overall, about 1/3 of adults ages 65 to 69 have jobs. That's up from less than 1/4 in 2000. That's based from the Federal Reserve. More Americans are working longer. Why is that? Why are more Americans working longer? Well, easy. Unforeseen expenses. Caregiving for aging parents, the sandwich generation. Maybe your parents are in their 70s or 80s. Maybe your kids are in their 20s and 30s. Your parents might have moved in. Your kids might have come back. You're sandwiched. You got to pay for your parents' care, but then you got your little boy who's saying, Mama, I can't find a job. I got a PhD in philosophy and they won't hire me. Well, wait a second, what? Sandwich generation. The rising cost of caring for aging parents and supporting adult kids. Now, if you're watching this and you're an adult kid living at home, listen, I'm not down on you. There ain't nothing wrong with that. Also, the increases in healthcare. Look at this. The cost of groceries, owning a car, insurance, and housing have increased significantly over the past 3 years. Caregiving, healthcare costs more too. The median cost of a home health aide increased 12.5% between 2020 and 2021. 12.5% increase in healthcare, home healthcare between 20 and 21. That is why many Americans feel like they can't retire. And many who have retired have to go back to work. Now, I want to look at Sharon. Sharon is a client of mine. She came to me asking, can I retire? And she basically had already retired. She was in the process of retiring. And in her case, she was going to run out of money a lot sooner than she expected. And we're going to go through why and then I want to show you the adjustments that we made so that she could retire and feel confident and certainty in her retirement. Now listen, if you want a financial EKG, if you want some certainty in your retirement, go to the link below, get in touch with us, go to our website, pearlwealthgroup.com. We would be honored to help you. All right, let's go through Sharon Single. She's asking the question, can I retire? We just looked at an article from the Wall Street Journal that said you can't retire. High health care, caregiving, groceries, inflation, transportation, housing, it's all running rampant and you cannot retire. Let's look at that with Sharon, and I'm going to show you exactly why Sharon cannot retire. So Sharon's retired. She's retiring from a job in administration. Now, she was making $70,000 a year, which is a pretty good income. The average income in America is $55,000, so she was above average. If you look around the world, $70,000 is like being rich. But she's retiring. She's 60 years old. She wants to retire now. Now, her Social Security, her 62 benefit, would be $2,079. Now, Sharon's taking Social Security at 62, which means she's going to get 70% of her Social Security benefit. Now, if she delays until 63, 64, 65, or 66, she's going to get an increased benefit, but not her full retirement benefit. Her full retirement benefit, because she was born after the year 1960, is 67, where she would receive 100% of her full retirement benefit. Now, if she delays past 67, she'll get an 8% increase, 68, 69, and 70, where she would get 124% of her full retirement benefit. Now, keep in mind, your Social Security decision is specifically based on your individual situation. So Sharon's going to collect at 62 because we're retiring at 60, and we don't want to drain the assets before claiming Social Security. I'll show you what that all looks like here in just a second. All right, so her Social Security benefit is $2,079 at 62. No pensions, okay? No pensions. Now, from an asset standpoint, she's got $15,000 in the bank. We have an IRA, it's a Quadro IRA of $275,000. And we have a 401k of $200,000. Now, as you can see, we're not doing any contributions into the 401k because we are retired. Now, if we go back, we unretire Sharon, you can see she was doing a contribution of $1,166, and she was also getting a company match of $175 a month. So if she were to keep working, we would continue to contribute to her current 401k. Now, the option a lot of times for clients is, Drew, I don't want to work at such and such job because it's high stress. I don't want to work, I don't want to go into the office anymore 5 days a week. I don't want to, I've got clients who ride the train into Manhattan. They're like, I don't want to ride the train. Or maybe you live in Houston and you don't want to drive in the traffic in Houston. And you're like, can I work at home making $40,000 a year? What we would look at for Sharon, if she did not want to keep working her high stress job, but wanted to work another job, is we would just say, let's quit your current job. Let's get a job making $30,000, $40,000 and let's see what that looks like. But for her, she's wanting to know, like, can I retire now? Okay, so there's a lot of things going on in this that we can't squeeze into a 25-minute YouTube video. Obviously, if there's something that you see that you think that we need to do here, leave it in the comment section. I love commenting. I love hearing what you have to say in our community. So we're gonna go back. Let's retire her. So we've got a Quadro. If you don't know what a Quadro is, this means that she was married, they got divorced, she got half of the IRA from her ex-spouse. So she got $275,000 in an IRA, which is called a Quadro. Now she has a home worth $325,000. So we've got total assets right now of $490,000, and we have protected assets of $325,000. So our house is worth $325,000. We do have a mortgage on it, and we have spendable assets of $490,000. That's what we're going to use for retirement income. All right. So now let's look at her expenses, because this is where the rubber meets the road, right? Expenses, expenses, expenses. When you meet with me or a member of my team, we are going to hammer your retirement income and expenses. And I don't mean hammer in a bad way. I don't care if you go to Starbucks. I like Starbucks. You want to go to Starbucks? That's fine. Susie Orman says you're basically peeing your money down the drain when you go to Starbucks. Well, Susie, I did the math, And if I go to Starbucks once a week, it's not really going to lose me any money in the long term. And when I'm dead, I'm really glad I had my mochas. So, hey, there we go. But what we do want to look at are a few different things when it comes to your expenses. Let me show you exactly what that is. So, her current monthly expenses after tax. After tax. That's the first thing I want you to think about. After tax. Where's your retirement income coming from? Is it coming from an IRA, 401k, Roth IRA, non-qualified account like a brokerage account? Is it coming from a pension, Social Security? Where's your retirement income coming from? So after tax means if I need $1,000 a month and it's coming out of my IRA, I've got to take taxes above that. So let's say it's another $100 a month. So now instead of $1,000, I need $1,100. And also keep in mind this, again, I don't want to overwhelm you because my mind is like a roller coaster, right? I get really excited about this. At the time of me recording this video, now you might be watching this 5-10 years from now, the Trump tax code is the current tax code in the land. So when this says current monthly expenses after tax, it's the current tax code. But what the software does and it allows us to do is to increase taxes because we know that in the year 2026, the tax code is going to increase 25%. It's going to revert back to the Obama era tax code unless something happens between now and 2026. I don't foresee the future. But the after tax on these expenses is going to change after the year 2026. So you've got to keep in mind that what's my after tax now? What's my after tax in the future? Because if taxes are going to go up, that $100 that we were taking out originally off that $1,000, well, it might be $120. It might have to be $200 in the future based on where the tax code goes. So always keep that in mind. And listen, if you want an EKG, let me know. Let's work through that. So for her, we've got a mortgage of $700 a month. Thankfully for her, she got in long before interest rates started rising and the housing market became ridiculous. Now, you see this zero right here on inflation? This is really important because inflation is not on your mortgage, right? There ain't no inflation on your mortgage. It's going to be $700 for the rest of the payment period. Now, the principal interest is going to change. How much goes to principal, how much goes to interest? That's called an amortization schedule. You've probably got one of those. And if you have your insurance and your taxes built into your payment, that could change it depending on the local tax code and your insurance costs and things like that. I don't like that. So I like to pull the insurance and taxes out of it so that we can have a straight baseline number for the mortgage. So she has a $700 mortgage, no inflation. That's going to end in about 6 years. We've got baseline expenses of $2,700. That's her everyday expenses. Then we have a travel budget of $500 per month, about $6,000 a year with inflation, and that's going to end in 2038. So you see how we're ratcheting down our expenses. We want to make sure we're clear on how much we want to project out in spending. Here's that health insurance now and Medicare. So for her, we know we can get $400 a month in medical insurance based on the exchange. And she does not want to go on an Advantage plan. She wants to use a Medicare supplement and Part D. And so we know it's going to be about $400 forever. But you see this? We put inflation on our health care because inflation on your health care is running about 7%. And that is ridiculous, right? I should have been like an eye doctor or a dentist or something because I feel like you just walk in there and they're like, can we just have your bank account? Do you feel like that sometimes? No offense, doctors. I think you do an amazing job. And I have a lot of friends who are doctors and dentists. But man, y'all doing all right. So that's our expenses. And you can see how we've broken that down and how we get that inflation rate lower than that 3.27%. So let's go to retirement. We're going to skip cash flows and tax for now because it doesn't really matter what our tax situation looks like if we're going to run out of money. So let's look at a few different things. Just off the top, you can see, hey, we're out of money at 80 years old. You see that? 80 years old, we're out. Our shortfall, we need about $387,000 dumped into this to make this work. So she's either got to play the lottery, play the ponies, go to a casino. She's got to win about $387,000. Maybe she has a rich uncle, whatever. If we don't, we don't have 387, we can just like boop out of the midair. But we also can see that our rate of return needed to avoid a shortfall is 8%. So we're running these investments at 4% in retirement. Now, I am very conservative in my projections. I don't believe that over time she's going to make 4% in the stock market. I think she's going to make more like 5, 6, or 7%. But I'm not going to project that out. But what the software's telling me is we need to earn 8%. Now, the market's averaged 10% over the last 50 years. If you take inflation out of that, it's 8%. So she essentially has to earn exactly what the S&P 500 or the stock market has averaged over the last 50 years in order for her money to never run out. Now, as an advisor and as an investment advisor, I do not want her to take the same amount of risk as the overall stock market. And so, yeah, there's funds out there. You might comment and say, hey, Drew, she could buy JEPI and get 12%, or she can buy this ETF and get 9% guaranteed. First of all, it's not guaranteed, and it's only been around for a couple years. Second of all, we have to have some kind of projection because we're looking at lump sum payments coming off of this as well, not just like the dividend interest. So let's go back. Let's see what we need to do. Let's go to adjustments. So now we're going to do some adjustments. So I talked to Sharon, said, hey Sharon, do you like your job? I like my job. Why are you retiring at 60? She said, I don't want to feel like I'm missing life. I want to feel like I'm enjoying what I've worked hard for. And I said, that's great. And we had this conversation. I said, well, Sharon, here's the problem. If you retire at 60, based on our projections, you're out of money at 80 years old. How long did your mom live? She said, well, mom lived into her late 80s. How about your dad? He lived into his 80s. I said, what if you get to 80 and you're still healthy, but you run out of money? What are you going to do? Well, that's where we got to have these conversations. So I said, could you work a couple years longer? Could you work at your job a couple years longer? So let's look at that. So if she stays in admin and she works from 60 until 63, so we're going to have her work another 3 years. Okay, I know it sounds tough, but we're going to do another 3 years. And then we're going to take Social Security at 63, which is going to be $2,227. So we're going to take Social Security immediately when we retire. Now you see the difference. From an asset standpoint, we're going to start having a contribution into this 401k. And I believe, it's not on here, so let me go back. I think it was like $1,100. So we'll just put $1,100 in there. She's getting a $175 match from the company. Actually, let me make sure I'm right on that. Let's do this together, guys. Let's go back to the current scenario. Unretire, assets, 1166. See, that was $66. I need to go back. Okay, so let's go back to the adjustments. See, this is why we do it together. Okay, so she's going to do her contribution, and she's going to do this now until she retires, which will be 5 of 2026. So she's going to get that free money from the company for another 3 years as well. So now, still same amount. Remember, $493.25? Our expenses haven't changed, still the same. Mortgage, baseline, travel, health insurance, all that's still the same. So now let's go to retirement. So we're retiring at 63. We're going to take Social Security immediately. And look, we're out at 89. We've extended it 9 years. Now, let's go to 80 real quick. At 80, there's $311,000. Remember, she was at 0, retiring at 60. So working an extra 3 years has extended the life of her spendable assets 9 years. Now, she does have her house. It'll be paid for. She can do a reverse mortgage. She could sell the house. She could do something. But this is a way to help extend the life of her retirement. And look at the rate of return. It's 5.92. Remember, it was like 8 point something. Now it's more manageable. Maybe she can earn 5 to 6% in dividend yield and just capital appreciation, and this means the money will never run out. So these are some of the things we can do. We can also look at some other adjustments. What can we do? Can we start Social Security at a different age instead of turning it on immediately? Well, according to the software, it says take it at 68. Remember, we're taking it at 63. So if we do that, look at this. It actually would extend her to 91. 91. Taking it at the appropriate time that makes sense for her, right? Like if she's reading all the articles or she's listening to her friends, the articles say delay till 70. Her friends say take it now because Social Security is going to go bankrupt and it's your money. Take it, invest it, enjoy it, which I get a lot of those comments. But for her, for Sharon, based on our projections, based on our calculations, it makes sense to take it at 68. It extends the life of her retirement 2 years, 24 months. That's a big deal. I think that's pretty awesome, don't you? Let's look at that scenario real quick. So we added it to the analysis. Let's view it. All right. So now, look at this, 91. Let's see what the rate of return calculated is. 5.52. So we're still in that 5.5 range. Even better than where we were. What was it originally? Let's go back, it was 5.92. So now we've jumped it back by 0.4%, 5.5%. My gosh, do you guys see the value in this? Don't you see how awesome this is? So when somebody says, here's my notes, you can't retire, you can retire. You just have to make sure that you protect yourself, right? I love this scripture in Ephesians 5:15. It says this. It says, be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but like those who are wise. Obviously, Paul is talking about how you live your personal life in this scripture, but I think it applies to your retirement as well, because the decisions that you make in order to retire, don't make them foolishly. Make wise decisions based on your situation, based on your math, based on your individual needs. And I can't promise you that you're going to have a successful retirement, but we can have some certainty that if we do that, we're going to get through retirement together. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed this video. God bless. Bye-bye.